Today we're going to continue on this thread of talking about things that have helped our online creative collaborative game development club for practice work well for people. In part because, it's helpful for me to practice talking about things. Also because, again, you might be able to adapt some of these to other creative endeavors that you're trying to navigate. And the one I want to focus on today is actually about the value of cross-functional training that we emphasize for our members. And this is both something which makes no sense in a commercial studio, and even in academia, it's hard to really surface sometimes. And what I mean by cross-functional fluency really is this element where we would like everyone to have at least functional fluency across the board. Right? Everyone's going to necessarily have some core strength or two that's their main specialization that they like to do. Some people mainly identify as programmers or level designers or musicians or writers, other things. Artists. Various kinds of artists. Obviously, there's whole subdomains in there. But what I mean by cross-functional fluency is any given person we would like to get ramped up enough in different platforms and skills and tools and approaches that they can at least fill in their own placeholder stuff. And this serves several functions. In terms of the soft skills implications, it makes them much better teammates, makes them much better leads, much better planners, because they have some idea what goes into other people's work. They don't take it for granted as much. They don't assume it's easy. They are not dismissive of the effort that goes into something, even if something that comes out isn't yet grand or polished. They understand the time it takes to do those things and the difficulties, the kind of difficulties it encounters. So in addition to, got that soft skill element to it, but also then it gives them as well a better sense from their own side, their area of specialization, how their piece is going to integrate in better with the work of others, how the parts all fit. It's also an element of making sure that they are better able to really prototype independently. And this is counterintuitive since obviously so much of what we do in the club is team projects, community collaboration, everyone working together on all the games going on at once. But what this results in is that it gives each person a chance to really kind of focus in on practicing one skill at a time or one skill in a given game, to supplement, you think kind of their stat bars, leveling out their abilities across the board in a way that if they're trying to do everything by themselves, it's so much harder to zero in and focus on even alternating between wearing the art hat a while, wearing the code hat a while, wearing the level design hat a while, to get any meaningfully better at those, since what winds up happening if we're trying to do all ourselves is our strengths compensate so much for our weaknesses that we never really get serious about improving at the areas that we are weakest in. And so it's also, again, counterintuitively, really training for many people to become better prototypers, better independent, better even solo developers for those who choose to kind of walk that path on their own. And, just, I think, in a weird way, separate from, it's got the soft skills benefit of being a better teammate, better collaborator, better lead, better planner, separate from the ability to empower someone to build more things without being reliant or dependent upon waiting up on anybody else. Thirdly, and in a weird way, maybe most importantly, just in a sense of kind of self-actualization, in a sense of being our best possible selves, I think it's refreshing, I think it's important, I think it's life-reaffirming to not remain completely uninformed of how other things work. To round ourselves out as people. In the same way as there's kind of a classical philosophical concept of person should try to balance out their life a little bit. They should all be familiar with some sort of athleticism, some sort of musical instrument, some sort of oratory or persuasive argument or political knowledge or mathematical or science skills. And, the same kind of idea of rounding ourselves out as people. We can do a very niche version of that in a very coherent way that plays off of each other if what we're kind of focusing on is rounding out our skills within the already broad realm of game development. Where, like I said, even among art and artists, there's so many different styles, not just 2D, 3D, not just animated and static, not just icons and characters and backgrounds, but even within any given one of those different styles, approaches, looks, aesthetic choices, and so on, that it's this very, very vast field in which we can become as rounded as we want to be in terms of getting a better sense for how other things are made. I think it helps us appreciate the things around us. Helps us not take for granted as much, even when we're playing something as a consumer, maybe a AAA game. I've been playing Assassin's Creed. I just finished Origins. Been doing Odyssey. And, you know, I mean, those aren't models I can make. That's not code I certainly would have been able to optimize to the same degree as the talented folks at Ubisoft. But it can help us appreciate just the various little bits and pieces of it, having worked on some smaller pieces of various kinds ourselves. It's the same sort of thing that it is, I am certain, someone who's a carpenter has a different kind of appreciation seeing a house than someone seeing a house who's never had to work with wood. But so anyway, that's, to me, also I want to talk about today. Important to me that as a group we emphasize cross-functional fluency. That said, we don't force it on anybody. We do have members who only write code. We do have members who only make music. It's all fine. People work together. People look out for each other, try to make it all fit. That's what we're all about. But that we do encourage that, I think, is important as to our values. And for many of our members, what they're getting out of it is partially rounding themselves out as developers. And actually, I'll say as one kind of bonus point on there, for some people, it's also where they discover that they really like making music. Or they discover that pixel art's actually kind of jibes with them. And that can potentially, for some people, become the new direction that they lean towards in the kind of training resources that they look up, and the kind of tasks that they choose, and the kind of projects that they seek out or pitch. But they wouldn't have known if they had not been in an environment that encouraged them to branch out of their past comfort zone, what kind of training they formerly have had, and those other kind of things where we can kind of very much accidentally stumble into a box and then live there for the rest of our lives. So I think it's important and valuable for people to be open to the idea of exploring, trying out different skills, cross-functional training, and certainly in our online game development club, that's important to us. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.